go nearer to the...
I think
Sorry
so,
about
Anna.
that. Okay. So we are very happy to have with us Graeme Finlayson today. I will try first of all and unmute all of you. Okay. Okay. So we are very happy to have with us Graeme Finlayson and his really well-known son, Hamish. Hamish has been well known for the apps he has devised by himself. He's a young, bright teenager. He's on the spectrum, and he has met lots of developers, lots of famous people that are in the VR technology or in the apps to try and inspire and support other autistic young people. Hopefully we will have Hamish in another event in the near future so he can tell all about that journey. Today we've got his father, Graeme, who is going to talk about Hamish's journey in immersive technology and also the way he dealt with COVID-19 and how technology supported him in these difficult times, which we all hope they're going to finish, but I think we have some more time to deal with COVID-19. So for us, and I think for most autistic people, technology has recently acted as a really therapeutic tool to help them hold on to their mental health and to their inspiration in these difficult times. So Graeme is going to talk about all these, and at the end he's going to present the link to one of his son's videos. You can watch it by yourself because we can actually play it as media sharing right now, and you will have the time to ask questions, any questions you possibly have. Okay, so I think it's over to you, Graeme.
Thanks, Anna, and thank you for the invite. It's great to see everyone here from Allspace VR and from the group, and great to see a specific channel for those on the spectrum and who care about those on the spectrum being set up. Hamish is an early adopter of virtual reality ever since, in fact, you know, he researched it before what was happening with the Oculus and the Quest and those kind of things. It was his, you know, choice of technology back in 2016 after he went to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in Silicon Valley, and he met some people there and started to talk around this idea of virtual reality because he saw its potential and loved the technology himself and had read and seen so much about it. And his real inspiration for it was when some of the Facebook mentors told him about Mark Zuckerberg's F8 keynote about VR in 2017. And so he's been following that journey, and the theme of today is around defying distance, both through virtual reality and other immersive technologies and other sort of connective technologies generally, and during COVID-19. Now, for those of you who are familiar with what Facebook are doing, you might notice the logo there, Defy Distance, is straight from the F8 keynote on this very topic around their release of Oculus Quest last year. Hamish was very impressed by that. He was lucky enough to be invited by Facebook to that event. As a fully fledged developer, he was the youngest developer invited to that forum in the world from among, I think they have about 3,000 or 4,000 people there at that event who are from the developer community, and they sponsored his ticket to that. So that was a sort of fantastic thing and part of his sort of journey. you'll also see that I'll talk around other technologies like Zoom, WhatsApp, obviously Oculus, Discord, which is something Hamish and his cohort use, and another tool that some of you may not have heard of called Melzo, which is a web VR XR experience as well. And I'll talk to you both about how he's used those, and then we've used those during COVID, but also their general capacity to assist in connection. So that's kind of the outline for today. I'll try and sort of control the slides as best I can. You'll also see in the bottom left from where you're looking corner a little blue turtle there. That's Hamish's logo that he designed. Well, he bought the rights to, rather, I should say, when he was 10, because he was looking for a turtle for one of his games, and he just fell in love with what he calls them Triple T, who's the turtle with ASD, hence the blue. So that's kind of a bit of a quick snapshot before I get into the presentation. And I think possibly happy to take questions, but Anna, I think we'll do questions at the end, or do you want questions as we go?
I think it's better to have questions at the end of the presentation. Yeah.
Yep, that's cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll leave it to you guys if there is a problem with the slides to raise your hand to Anna and stuff like that, because I'll have no idea what to do. All right, so hopefully we'll start moving through the slides, and I'll just take you through to the first slide there, and you should see a bunch of photos there that explain sort of Hamish's journey from the left, and all the people who inspired him, right the way through from his first sort of key foray into the app world was in 2015. He entered a competition called Young ICT Explorers, which asks you to develop a technology solution to solve a real problem. So what Hamish did was he hates litter, and he hates the impact that litter has on the environment and how it's killing our environment. We live in a place called Townsville in North Queensland in Australia. So we're very near the Great Barrier Reef, and we're very near a turtle hospital, which we took to Hamish to when he was very young, and he saw the turtles there that were damaged by pollution in the waterways and in the oceans, plastic in particular. So he developed came up with an idea called Litterbug Smash, which was designed to promote awareness around eliminating plastic pollution and threats to marine life, especially turtles. And his idea just grew with the technology. As he understood the technology, it went from being simple websites through to YouTube videos, through to a platform game, which ultimately he wanted to develop as an app on the App Store. That was all his idea as he started to see the potential of technology, and we explored what it could do. And he also wanted to give back at that early age, both to help out the tourism industry, the fishing industry in our local community and protect oceans. But also, if you go and download the app Litterbug Smash, you'll see there are some Donate Now buttons that actually go straight to supporting the Reef HQ Turtle Hospital in Queensland. So that was his idea again too. And we had to work out with Apple, how do you do that? Because obviously Apple liked their cut, and Hamish didn't like the idea that 30% of the donations could go to Apple. So he had to find a way to create that link and channel donations outside the Apple network, which they explained to him how to do. Anyway, he developed the app up at that stage, loaded into the App Store, was about 10. He came second in the competition, was very, very upset, and was about to throw away his entire IT career. And I sort of said, because he didn't win, he thought he should have won. And he looked at all the other projects and I probably tend to agree with him, but I just sort of said, you know, that's the judges on the day, Hamish, and that's what being startup's about. So I happened to find another competition, which was actually much bigger, and that was happening in Western Australia, called AusApps. And AusApps was a regional Asia Pacific competition where anyone from the Asia Pacific region could apply to win really serious prizes in front of really serious entrepreneurs and sponsors. People like Bankwest, which is one of the big banking networks in Australia. Amazon were there. Some of the founders from the Australia-New Zealand connection of Yahoo were there as judges. And also the US government was there in Perth at this great festival. So Hamish applied, and he came in the top 20 of the startups, and they put him into the student competition. The US ambassador met him, and you'll see some pictures there of Hamish meeting the US ambassador when he's very, very young, there with a picture of me and my wife, Lindy. And he's also got to meet a very well-known entrepreneur called Bill Tai. Now, I don't know if any of you guys know Bill Tai. He's an absolute blockchain fiend. He's one of the founding, developers in that sort of area. But he has this also great capacity to find and build unicorns. So if you're using Twitter, he's a founding investor in TweetDeck. If you're using Canva, he's a founding investor in Canva. If you're using Zoom, guess what? He's the founding investor in Zoom. So this guy spots talent, knows how to build stuff and generate value. And he's also now morphed this West Tech Festival into a competition called Extreme Tech, the Extreme Tech competition, and its focus is on the Sustainable Development Goals. So these are some of the people that Hamish has been fortunate enough to meet. You'll see him also meeting a bunch of founders there. He's met up in the blue t-shirt there, a guy called Luke Anir, a very great young gentleman from Townsville, who has created a safety app called iAuditor. Now, another unicorn in Australia that Bill helped found, and Bill put Hamish in touch with him. So we had to go all the way to Perth to meet some new people from Townsville. But it was a great experience for him. He also met some mentors like Alan Jones, who's a very, very well-known entrepreneur in Australia, founder of Yahoo, and involved with an organisation called Blue Chili, and who's now giving back as a mentor on a accelerator called Remarkable, which is all around people with diverse needs, special needs accelerator. From there, those people encouraged Hamish to broaden his horizon even further and look globally. So their concept is about go global day one, which was something that Hamish had been trying to do with his apps in his own way. And from there, the ambassador suggested to Hamish that he pitch to the people running the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in Silicon Valley, which was the last summit that President Obama ran for that ending. Now, Hamish had to apply like everyone else in the world. So there were something like 7,000 applicants who all wanted a gig at Stanford in Silicon Valley to go to the heart of innovation. And he was one of the 700 entrepreneurs from around the world pick. He was the youngest in the globe, invited to go there. They just spotted his talent, and everything he presented was what was in his slides. It was from his, from what was in his heart and his interest around technology. And from there, he got to meet some of the bosses of Facebook, Ime Archibong in particular. He showcased and pitched his app. At that stage, he'd also developed an app around helping people with autism, which was, again, something Hamish wanted to do, to explain what autism is, how it affects your thinking, how it affects your daily life, and some strategies to deal with it. And that's what, really it was quite amazing that Hamish wanted to do that and give back himself. Facebook had a look at what he was doing and said, we'll invite you into our FB Start program in 2017, and we'll keep in contact with you. And to this day, Hamish can reach out to Ime with ideas, queries, and IMA will respond. And I don't mean IMA will respond in 3 weeks. IMA will respond that day or within 20 minutes, typically, of Hamish reaching out to him, which just gives you an idea of some of the quality of the people and the genuine people that Hamish has met. From there, Hamish has then gone to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, or GES 2017. He applied again in 2017 that was in Hyderabad in India. Now, we weren't going to apply because we thought, well, if Hamish applies, he'll be the youngest in the world again, and it's someone else's turn to shine and to have that recognition. But a bunch of entrepreneurs from India reached out to Hamish on WhatsApp. They found his WhatsApp address, found his Instagram address, and they invited him to come. And they said, can you please apply? Can you please come? Can you please talk to the Indian government to come? We want to see you, we want to meet you. So he did. And the US government, to their credit, is probably the one thing that I like about President Trump, possibly the only thing I like about President Trump, is his team and Ivanka's team had the sense to invite Hamish again. And yeah, he was the youngest there again in the world. And at that forum, he really got to see VR in action. So he'd seen it via Mark Zuckerberg's F8 keynote in 2016 and it was 2017, being wowed by it. And in India, he got to, see it up close and personal after seeing the HoloLens in Silicon Valley. And from there, he'd already got a prototype of his VR app going. There was a PhD student from JCU University. So you'll see there's a Singaporean guy who looks like he's in our house near Hamish playing with a Vive. That's Randy Zhu, Hamish's mentor from James Cook University, who's from Singapore. He was doing a PhD on using assistive technologies to help people on the spectrum, and particularly an App Watch sort of phone. Randy reached out to Hamish and said, hey, let's do some more stuff. Let's work out how you can improve how you do coding, etc. And then from there, Hamish was then invited to, meet up with the Melzo guys. There's some pictures there of them. You'll see their H-looking logo. And they formed a partnership with him to build out their VR technology that is going global and is now one of the top 5 startups in India as per the What's Up Grand Challenge. In 2018, you'll see there's a little reference there to a thing called Toby Pro. I don't know if any of you guys know about Toby Pro at all. If you haven't looked them up, they're a great company based in Sweden, and they have eye tracking technology that's integrated with the HTC Vive. Now, the power of eye tracking is both very, very good if you want to use your superpowers as a gnome or an elf in some far-out world to kill orcs, or you could use it for real things like understanding where people's attention is going, where people are looking, how are people distracted, advertising, where are they looking at signs, let's say, signs in a subway, signs in the airline, where is the attention going, and can you use that to understand how people on the spectrum may react to different objects in their real world? Are they distracted, etc.? Now, Hamish was doing this to work on his app, which is an app called Transport Pathways, which is around traffic safety for kids on the spectrum, because traffic accidents are the #1 killer globally of teenagers and young people in the age group 15 to 29. #1 killer around the globe. Hamish wants to do something to stop that, so he's built an app, a simulation app, which helps kids across the spectrum cross the road safely by themselves. Because if any of you are on the spectrum or have had to support someone on the spectrum crossing the road, it's a pretty scary thing. It's still pretty scary for us this day to see Hamish cross the road, but he's getting better at doing that himself without us having to remind him to look left or look right. Anyway, he reached out to explain this idea to Toby Pro and said that eye tracking would make the experience more immersive and more effective, and you could track data, you could work out what was distracting people, what were the dangers in the environment, and coach people on the spectrum better. They provided him their technology on loan for free from Sweden. Technology worth about $20,000. One of their development kits, they shipped it to us at their cost, and they hooked us up with developers in Sweden so Hamish could work on the app in HTC Vive, which he then did. And if you look up Hamish and look up Toby Pro, you'll find they've done a little case study on what he did in 2018. From there, Hamish kept in contact with the guys from Facebook, explaining again what he was sort of doing in that sort of space, and pitched to them some ideas. They reached out to him and said, come down to Sydney, we've met you in Silicon Valley. The people in Australia at Facebook would love to meet you. So they did, and unbeknownst to us, we weren't quite sure why we were down there. Hamish did his sort of pitch, and they then said, we'd love you to come to F8. We want you to meet the Oculus team. We want you to come to the campus again and be there as a fully fledged developer invite. And he went to F8 last year and was a fantastic experience. So that's kind of his sort of journey in a nutshell, and the people who met him. Now, I guess the critical thing about that is, and I think many of you would know this, it just shows you that, you know, it's great to have a tireless mum. Lindy's just fantastic, supporting Hamish and doing everything for him. But it really shows you that in everything you do for people on the spectrum, you need a tribe. You need a tribe to really unleash the potential, and you need supportive, caring environments and people who are prepared to go that extra mile. And we've been very fortunate to meet, you know, many of them. So that's his sort of journey, the people he knew and met and who have inspired him to just see that potential. And they're all still in touch with him today. The US ambassador who met Hamish, who understood the desire to use his creativity to break down barriers, has gone back to New York, but is still in touch with Hamish through LinkedIn and other mechanisms. In his farewell speech to the Australian community on live television, he gave Hamish a shout out, which was just totally unexpected. You know, he called him the coolest teen in Australia that he'd met, and just spoke very glowing in terms of him. And to this day, we're still in touch with all these people that you see on the screen. Anyway, that's enough of his sort of journey in terms of the platforms that Hamish builds on. As you can see, his journey has, you know, also shown a progressive increase in skills and platforms. The other thing that Hamish realised very early was that being pretty much a one-man band, because it's just pretty much him, he's the only one that can code. I kind of tapped out at BASIC in the Commodore 64 back in the day. If any of you can remember what the Commodore 64 is, it's in museums, I think. If you go to some museums, you'll see the technology. BASIC was the language of choice when I went to school. Dungeons and Dragons was still around then, but not much else. So Hamish started off building 2D and 3D apps using Android, iOS. He got to meet with the Apple people in Silicon Valley as well. They invited him there. They saw his apps. They had been including his apps in some leaderboards back in 2015, and they reached out to him and said, you need to come to Silicon Valley, we need to meet with you, which he did, and they're again still in contact with him to this day if he reaches out and talks to them about how to use his apps in a more accessible way. And the very first app platform that he developed on, if you're looking for something very simple, is a thing called HyperPad, which was a sort of drop and drag platform. So that's where we sort of started, and with things like Game Maker Studio and those kind of platforms to get his 2Ds and 3D apps going. But as you can see, his developer weapon of choice is really in that 3D VR world with Oculus, the Oculus Go, all powered via Unity. And again, Hamish identified very early on things that are going to have a multi-platform effect. So the beauty of Unity, for those of you that develop in it, obviously, is you can connect everywhere. You can come through Oculus, you can come through Apple, you can come through Android, you can come through PC games. And Hamish realised that if he's going to be a young startup, and he's at the moment, the best way to develop scale is to do it cheaply. And Unity is a pretty effective platform to get your message out there to multiple users. And as you can see, the other platforms he's developed on, HTC Vive, Toby Pro as well, which is the eye tracking software I talked about earlier. And yeah, developing on the Quest right now as we speak. And that's a great thing. Facebook gave him, and I was lucky enough to go with him to F8, a free Quest like they did to every developer there. And so he's been, working on that, working on their tools there as well. So that takes him to his F8 tour last year, 2019. And he was doing the work with Toby Pro on the trial, all in the middle of the monsoon last year as well. So I'm not sure if you're aware, back in 2019, there was a monsoon hit Townsville, very, very devastating, about $1.2 billion worth of damage to the Townsville community. Thankfully, no lives lost. Our house had 1.8 metres of water go through it. So we were in a 2-storey Queenslander. Luckily, didn't touch any of his apps, but we were on a deadline with Toby Pro to get them their equipment back, and so we had to code in the middle of a monsoon. So while we were evacuated out of the house, we were finding ways to do that, hoping that when we came back to go through there. And I'll keep going. I know that I'm sort of running a bit short of time there. And finally, the last platform that Hamish likes to connect on is Nintendo, both to play games and build them. So for those of you that are familiar with indie developer opportunities, Nintendo have invited Hamish to be a game developer for his own game. So they're giving Hamish the opportunity to export his 2D and 3D games from the iOS environment into the Nintendo world, including transport pathways in the VR app. So there's the platforms he likes to build on. There are many of the same platforms he likes to connect on, but in addition, Hamish uses things like WhatsApp, Zoom, and also WeChat. So he learned about WeChat from entrepreneurs he met in Silicon Valley. One of them was from Shanghai, and she arranged a WeChat call for him after we got back from Silicon Valley to teach him how to use WeChat, Weibo, and WhatsApp in her spare time. And from there, that's how he's reached out, formed other networks, talks to other people, and is part of a youth group called Global Scribes, United Nations, which is not just for people on the spectrum, but for all kids of all ages up to the age of 21 who are interested in improving the world and promoting world peace and promoting positive change in the world. There's hundreds of kids from around the globe that Hamish gets to connect with every day. He's obviously a big fiend on Zoom. Bill Tye gave him that tip back in 2016. Hamish has been using Zoom since he was 11. So he's kind of grown up with that technology as it's developed. When he went to India, he met up with the Melzo guys. They have another web VR 3D XR experience, which is very, very immersive. And he again uses that to connect, talk to people, showcase ideas, showcase technology, showcase a place, showcase his presentations. And he's used all of these during the lockdown. In terms of other things he connects on as a teenager, and not just a teenager on Spectrum, Discord. I think you guys use Discord. He's been using that, playing as a avid game user since about 2015, I think. And then from there again, you see the other sort of platforms he loves to connect on. That's it. Sort of. So I guess what I'm leading to is he was already immersed in these environments before sort of COVID hit. So he didn't have to learn what they were. But we used all those tools to help us as a family to reach out to parents, to reach out to colleagues across the globe, for him to connect with his friends in Global Scribes, just to keep things sort of going, to talk to the guys sort of in India. And as you sort of see there, if you can read the slide, it talks about it's not the number of people you know, it's not the number of connections that matter, it's the depth of those connections. And that's what he learned when he went to F8. in 2019, and that's what he applies in his real life. So it's the quality of the experience. It's meeting you guys virtually. It's connecting and having good conversations, but building on them and using multiple platforms to talk through. And we do the same as a family. I'll talk to him on Zoom if I'm traveling away, obviously not right now. But when I was doing a lot of FIFO work, fly in, fly out work for a large energy company, we would catch up on WhatsApp, Zoom, FaceTime, whatever was free and available. During the monsoon event, Hamish was connecting up with a company in Los Angeles to do a pitch and talk about collaborating on AI avatars as well, and digital avatars. And we did that right in the middle of the monsoon, and he didn't think anything of it. That right in the middle of the monsoon, you could be having this video conversation whilst watching where the water levels were kind of going near our house. So that's what we do at a sort of family perspective. In terms of some things of how has Hamish used these technologies in the real world during COVID, there was an event called Call to Unite. It was a global telethon streamed live by Tim Shriver. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's one of the Kennedy family type members. Maria Shriver, who used to be married to Arnold Schwarzenegger, is in that sort of family, if you know who the Terminator was. But Tim is also the chairman and founder of the Special Olympics, and has been so for about 12 years. And he came up with this concept of the Call to Unite, to reach out globally to help people connect and understand what was going on during COVID. Global Scribes, a group that Hamish has been with since 2016, were invited to present a segment during that, and Hamish got to contribute to that. And they built a number of videos and chats about what they were doing in the time of COVID to cope. They talked to each other on Zoom to do all of that. There was something like 60 kids, 60 to 70 kids, plus US TV producers talking about their 6-minute segment on Zoom for about 6 weeks on what to do. The kids then collaborated together, built their project and their submission in Zoom and in WhatsApp and on things like iMovies. And then they presented that. People like Oprah talk to this kind of thing. So it gives you an idea of the power of some of these technologies like Zoom and WhatsApp to help maintain our sort of sanity and mental health during this time. And it was a great experience for them. And the kids got to meet Rob Lowe. Don't know if you guys remember who Rob Lowe is. He's a sort of 80s heartthrob. He was the person they connect up in their segment. My wife was very excited by that. I could tell you, because she and I grew up in the 80s. She was more excited by that than anything else Hamish has done, I think, was that he got to get involved with Rob Lowe. But that's one of the things. And that was a great experience for him. You can go and see the videos, Call to Unite. A lot of stuff in there. They met up with all the kids of the great civil rights leaders, met up with the grandchildren of many of the great civil rights leaders, and those sort of things. To see if I've got, got another message, I think, from Anna. I've done something there. Hang on. Sorry about that, guys. I'm a bit rambling on a bit. So that was the Call to Unite. Then the next thing was talking to some guys called Melzo, and these are the entrepreneurs from India that Hamish met up with. They were 20-something at the time he met with them. A guy called Hardik saw Hamish being interviewed on BBC World and said, I've got to meet this kid, got to talk to him about it, got to see what we can do together. Hardik has a vision of using his technology to make life better through VR and web VR for 1 billion people around the globe. And he offered to set up a partnership with Hamish and to let Hamish use his technology for free for his social good apps as well as for the commercial apps. And we're together in a little bit of a partnership talking about how you can use WebXR globally for things like real estate conferences, virtual reality conferences, presentations like this. It's got many of the features of Zoom and MS Teams in it. But more importantly, we also used the Melzo platform, and Hamish got to present some of his ideas during the India 21-day homestay lockdown. So what they did was they made their technology free for those 21 days to have talks and sessions in VR, and Hamish ran the first couple of sessions across India to reach out and talk to people about what he was sort of doing and share his sort of experiences. So they're just some of the things that Hamish can do, 3D, web VR, to connect and make, the world a genuinely sort of better sort of place. And it just shows you the power and the potential that exists with VR. And then I think what you might see are just some QR slides that show you some more of Hamish's sort of story. You can see, I don't know if you can use your phones to get them or take a camera, but all those things are on YouTube. Hamish also talked about how he's using transport pathways at the CDC conference virtually in 2019. He was there closing plenary speaker, delivering a thing about how he's using transport pathways as a health disruption to the healthcare industry to put care back in the hands of people on the spectrum and their caregivers. And then finally, we come to his sort of website. He's got a couple. One's litterbugsmash.com, and the one around autism, which I think you guys would be most interested in, is called Triple T and ASD.com. And that kind of takes us to the end of the presentation. And yeah, Anna, I guess we could take questions if we've got time.
Thank you, Graeme. Hamish, from what we learned, in more detail today, he can inspire all of us, really all of us. Would you like to go to slide 1 so that each one can have a look at the YouTube video link?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
But, there's no synchronization, so you can click, but we can't all watch it at the same time. So feel free, on your browser, to click on the YouTube link on the arrow, so you can have a look. I think we are ready to take questions. Everybody has been unmuted. So are there any questions in terms of the whole approach of child on the spectrum in COVID times, using advanced technology, using immersive technology, all types of technology, to be in contact with friends and to actually inspire young people all over the world? So you are unmuted, so you can literally just ask a question. Anyone? Graeme,
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if you thought of making 1,000 more Hamishes.
he broke the mold pretty early. But when he arrived, as with many young boys on the spectrum, it wasn't apparent he was different until he was about 18 months old. And we were having sort of conversations around having another, but then we realised there's a lot we need to do for him. And we weren't sure what a second would bring into the world. So we thought, we have to see how we go with him first. Before.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to pry that way, right?
No.
But it's enough. Maybe he could create an AI that's
self.
As many of them as we want, right? So.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting story about because he exhibited many, I think, of what people say are the classic features: parallel play, a lot of splinter skills, and in fact, when he was very young, we got Hamish a Woody the Pooh laptop. Which was like a spelling laptop. And now what made us start to realise that there was something both interesting about his skills but also worrying was that he taught himself how to spell every single word that Winnie the Pooh could throw up by himself. So he taught himself how to spell, we could tell him a word like honey, and after playing with the computer, he could spell that himself. But his only word was mum, and that was up until the age of 18. So we were very concerned that he might end up being non-verbal, but he had a breakthrough through a lot of hard work that Lindy did. And his speech is still somewhat delayed, but there's been a lot of sort of hard work there. But technology from an early age, thank God, helped him, and we very quickly got iPads into this sort of stuff. But yeah, it was an interesting little journey. Terrifying at times because you don't know what the next day brings.
Yeah. But actually, the question that so I'm trying to see the name. Just a second. I have to go all the way here. Yeah, the question that Slick Creek asked. I think that Hamish can inspire all autistic young children and young people actually to use technology. I mean, it's not that difficult, and actually, it's their genes. Actually, most autistic young people are really that good in things that we are not, in terms of technology and how to use technology and how to make their own stuff. And research has shown that in terms of creativity, they are far beyond. So why not? Yeah, my question is why not? Young people, are not like fully immersed in this new type of technology, and this is what we're trying to do also through this channel, to make them aware of the existence first of all of this technology, and then that they have the potential to do what Hamish did. Even better, they can make their own apps, they can make their own world, they can be creative. And I think this. Hello, is anyone else talking? Hi. So this is what I'm thinking, that all autistic young people have this potential, and we need to actually make them aware that this technology exists, and see the benefits of it in terms of creativity, in terms of making them feel well, making them feel confident. This is something that we should exploit, I think. I don't know what your opinion is in terms of immersive technologies. We are all in a virtual reality environment. It doesn't matter if it is in 2D or in headset. It's not like a Zoom 2D conference call. We are in a 3D VR environment at the moment. And this is the immersion, and the presence is totally different. And this is something I think that most people, even autistic people, like.
Just building on what you're saying there, Anna, one of the things that we have been fortunate to do locally, and it comes from, people who can see an opportunity, is Randy, whilst also doing his, so he had a research purposes as well, came up with the idea of creating an IT autism club for teens in the autism support group network that we have in Queensland. So we have a little support group, not very well funded, called the North Queensland Autism Support Group. And Hamish is a part of that, and Lindy was a president of that for a time and a secretary of that body, volunteering to help. And over time, they've grown the concept of, chapters around, teens and adolescents, to also include a chapter, very small chapter in Townsville, around kids on the spectrum who love technology, whether it's to play the games, design their own games, use social media or whatever. And once a month, there are volunteers from the local university, James Cook University, because that's where Randy was doing his PhD at, come together to mentor kids on the spectrum who want to build their own games, build their own social media experiences. They've run scratch workshops to teach kids on the spectrum these sort of technologies. So if you can find the local communities and reach out, they're interested. And many of them do take to it like ducks to water. And one of the important things, though, in designing those communities is that they're designed in a supportive way, you know, that there are spaces the kids can break out into if they need time out, and also work out how to make those things work for kids on the spectrum, because like Hamish, you know, kids on the spectrum have special interests, and they may not be interested in learning about Scratch, but they might be really keen to build a Nintendo game or to build a game in Unity about, you know, whatever it might be, some sort of, you know, Game of Thrones spin-off. And that's what Randy did, was said, you know, it's not like Kata Jojo where they teach you just how to do certain things and a very strict curriculum. They do tap into the kids' interests, but help build those skills up.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense as well, of course. Yeah, yeah, agree. Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Can I please, not really a question, more like a comment. Thank you so much, Graeme, for coming today. And I think it's important to, you know, set it out there that autistic individuals, they can reach their potential. And it's evident that you helped your son to reach his potential, and who knows what potential is for each person, really. But I'm really interested to hear about, because the topic today is about COVID and COVID-19 and that period of lockdown that you, so for people that might not have picked up on that, you're from Australia, so you're living in Australia, so that period of lockdown and making the most of that, so and getting involved in all these activities. And I think that it's amazing that Hamish had that opportunity and that interest, that special interest to do so, and was able to do so many things during that period. We were supposed to have another speaker today to talk about Dr. Georgia Pavlopoulou, to present, to understand the experiences of lockdown for autistic people and their families. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it today due to technical difficulties, so I just wanted to invite everyone to open this up a bit and for people to talk about their experiences during COVID. And I know that for us being here and having the channel and having the technology, so we are a bit biased towards this, but for some other people that might not be their special interest as such, and how everybody's experiencing this lockdown process and this lockdown period, really. So I just wanted to open it up.
Yeah, I mean, is there anyone that would like to comment on their experience in terms of how they dealt with COVID, from the people who are here, who are present here? I mean, did you use technology more? Did you do something different that helped you out? Or is there anyone that would like to comment? No?
Okay.
Yeah.
No pressure there.
I mean, one of the things I will also say, because we were in touch with some of the people on the spectrum, and there were quite a few struggles in Australia for people on the spectrum, because it's not well understood. Australia is quite a supportive culture, but things like NDIS. But the reality is, for a lot of people on the spectrum, there is no support, and internet's not widely serviced across regional Queensland, and often you find kids on the spectrum and their families already have a lot of pressures. So what I think you find though is with the technology, if they have access to it, it does play into a lot of the sort of solitary moments that kids on the spectrum seem to cope with quite well. But the bonus for Hamish in this was that he's growing up in a world of other digital natives. So all his friends, they're now keen on these games. He's been chatting with people on Discord since 2015, which I didn't initially know, but he does it to play games. So that generation is very, very adept at technology. I think that the challenge is to make sure that people as they age with the spectrum are catered for in these technologies, and that researchers and supporters recognise the spectrum is a 24/7 for life condition, and that we build things that suit different age groups. So the solutions that Hamish was looking at when he first built ASD and Me in 2015, 2016 were things that he was facing problems with himself, and he couldn't find solutions for or ways to express them. Loud noises at parties, loud noises generally. He's building transport pathways because he struggled to cross the road and he can't find other solutions. So he's finding ways in his world to fix. And I guess what I'm saying is, if researchers and practitioners and caregivers can get together and focus on the real problems, the issues that are real life issues for people on the spectrum, as opposed to as what might be a really good thesis sometimes, then I think there's a great potential for further inroads to be made. But it requires a true partnership. And one of the challenges is that often what people need is not what might get you a thesis. And people don't have 5 years to wait, and they need technology like Allspace VR and VR in their hands now. So anything you guys can do to help lift the curve in speeding up that research process and implementation to practice would be much appreciated.
Yes, I totally agree, Graeme. And I think that from listening from other people and their experiences, I've been interviewing some autistic teenagers in the UK, and they've been sharing similar kind of concerns, but also during this period of COVID, I don't know how you did things in Australia, but in the UK there was a lot of homeschooling taking place. So some of these teenagers, they were finding homeschooling a great idea. They really loved it because they didn't have to be at school, and they might be finding some of the interactions there a bit difficult. But then for some others, there was that the fact that they stopped doing the activities that they were used to do every day, seeing the people that they used to see, and then having all these plans and schedules. So that was, so there was positives and negatives to this whole. So we had to go into lockdown, and the schools were shut here for a short period. Obviously Australia's been somewhat fortunate in some parts. Where we are in Queensland is kind of trying to keep COVID away from us, like a little bit of an island. We've done pretty well so far, but in the early phases, the schools in Queensland had to go into lockdown. Hamish is very fortunate in that his school isn't government funded very much, and the government said to the private schools, because they were encouraging people to stay at school because they thought that was a better health strategy than staying at home, where they could spread it around family members, because at that stage young people weren't terribly affected, which seems to be what the research was indicating. He had to try Zoom and those kind of things for a period. The challenge is that
kids like Hamish and his generation understand it and they get the technology. The teachers don't, because they've never had to grow up with it or face it. They still come from the land of using whiteboards and blackboards and PowerPoint, and they don't know how to communicate when they get thrown that disruptive sort of issue. And so when they run Zoom, it's not a very pleasant experience, because they're struggling as much as I did today with the buttons on AltSpace VR. But if you're doing that in front of 20 kids, and then your Wi-Fi connection goes down and you've got no strategy to connect with them because you don't have their phone numbers. They had a couple of those kind of glitches where their own technology wasn't sort of scaled, so the digital divide was the issue. For the state schools, it was a big problem here because many of the kids don't have their own devices. So, even in a country like Australia, some of the kids at state schools didn't have their own devices. So parents were getting lesson plans sent in the mail and saying, this is what you have to kind of do. But the other thing the school did for Hamish, when he did participate in the Zoom stuff, they kept their normal schedule going as much as possible. So he had to still dress up on Zoom in his school uniform. We did consent to him to not have to wear the school trousers because he thought that'd be really cool to show up and stuff in his pajamas, but wear his school top. And he tried that for a week or two. But the school was also really practical and did a lot of stuff to make the kids safe. And so he was able to have that experience going, whereas I know other kids in the US and around the globe aren't as fortunate. But what I can say is I can see that kids are more resilient because they know how to use these technologies and they know how to find their way in the world if there isn't a 3D physical connection. But you need to have everything work, just as we're struggling with the YouTube video today, something as simple as that. Imagine that was your lesson on how to do algebra. And, but what VR hasn't yet been able to solve, and I'm not saying it should, is how do kids take exams in this sort of environment if they can't be together? So there's all these sorts of challenges. So there's going to be a generation of kids in grade 11 and 12 whose future is very, very bleak. Some, in Victoria, they're talking about a year 13. So I know that most of you would know the term K to 12. In Victoria, they're thinking about a year 13 because of COVID, to allow people to repeat. So it's a whole year of their life gone because the school system hasn't been able to adapt quickly because of all the challenges, which is very, very sad.
Really sad indeed.
Yeah, very sad.
And I think there were different schools that were dealing with things in different ways. I think we are in a fortunate situation, the UK mostly, but thinking about other countries and what has been taking place, it's really mind-blowing, really. Thank you so much. I'm just aware of the time and the fact that we've run out really of time for the event. I'm really hoping that we'll be able to invite more speakers to talk about COVID-19 as it's an ongoing issue now. Is taking place, and hopefully it's not going to be here for much longer. But it's important for us to recognise that and talk about the issues around that, and perhaps even have some discussion sessions for people to talk about things. So thank you again, Graeme, for coming and for being up so early.
Yeah.
5 o'clock now in Australia.
Yeah.
So
It's yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That.
And thank you too, Anna, because Anna's a sort of third person connection from someone we met through How To, who we met through someone from Shanghai, who we met through when we were in Silicon Valley. So that's how I know Anna, and we got to meet Nikki, if you're wanting to know Anna, when she was up in sort of Scotland. But thank you guys, and I have connected with everyone that reached out. I finally figured out what the 3 red danger signs were in my blue circle, and I've connected with you, and I figured out how to do that without leaving the world. So thank you for the opportunity. Hope everyone stays safe, and the future's upon us. Yeah.
Thank you, Graeme. Thank you so much, and for all your, your persistence, on trying this new platform and everything. I mean, you've been great in handling this and the slides and everything, and we loved the whole presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So please, you can have a look around the space if you wish. We have the contact details of Autism VR channel in the corner and inside the house if you want to have a look. And I think it could be very beneficial if you could join our Discord channel. We have the details there, because all information in terms of the events taking place in this space are uploaded there. So it would be so you can be directly informed if you join our Discord channel. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you later.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
You are all unmuted. If you want to get to know each other or anything, you can literally just talk to each other.
You can hang out.
Everyone, yeah.
Yeah. I think the space is going to be here, Anna. That's
yes.
The space is here, so if
yes,
people would like to hang
yeah.
out for a bit, that's for you to hang out if you would like. And please email us or message us and get back to you as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So see you soon.
All right. Catch you guys later. I might go.
Bye.
I'll go back to bed. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, hopefully you'll get some sleep. Okay, bye.
That's all right. Bye-bye.